On April 9, 2017, on the tarmac of Chicago O'Hare International Airport, 4 airline workers needed to fly to Louisville, Kentucky to crew a flight that was leaving the next day. Their original flight faced mechanical delays, so they were rebooked by their airline to a different flight, one that was already booked and fully occupied. When the airline workers showed up at the gate to get on their new flight, what happened next would cost the airliner millions, cause long-lasting harm to their image, and result in the decertification of an entire police department of 300 officers.
Tonight, the Department of Transportation reports it's investigating the violent removal of a passenger from an overbooked United Airlines flight.
United now trying to get back in the good graces of customers this morning, many criticizing the airline after a passenger is dragged off a flight.
Were you expecting it to get physical at any point?
No, not at all.
Before we go more in depth on what exactly happened here, I want to talk about overbooking and where United Airlines stands in all of this. Many airlines routinely gamble on overbooked flights. They sell more tickets than they have available with the hope that enough people will miss their flight, earning them more money while chartering less flights. Most of the time, it's a safe bet. Some flyers even encourage this practice because it increases the efficiency of air travel, which can help keep ticket prices low. And even if a flight does fill up to capacity, airliners can offer ticket vouchers and cash to passengers in exchange for their seat. In the long run, they still make more money by selling more tickets to a flight than they can actually support. However, many flyers are understandably uncomfortable about this practice. With high levels of anxiety and stress reported among a large number of travelers, it's safe to say that you don't want to have to worry about being booted off your flight, on top of worrying about frequent delays related to maintenance or weather. What if you have a funeral, work, or other important commitment? The truth is, booking a plane ticket at most airlines does not guarantee that there will be room for you on the flight, and United is no exception. United is one of the largest airlines in the world and has been chartering flights for almost 100 years. They were the first civil airline to fly with an active president of the United States on board in 1973. Since then, the company has had many ups and downs, including periods of growth accompanied by acquisitions of other airlines and periods of losses leading to a bankruptcy following the 9/11 tragedy and an eventual merge with Continental Airlines in 2006 to cement United as a mega corporation in the airline space. But all that doesn't come without its fair share of controversies. Omitting plane accidents, United, like all large companies, has faced public scrutiny many times. In 2012, the airline held passengers in planes without bathrooms for over 3 hours due to thunderstorms, resulting in a hefty fine from the Department of Transportation. In 2015 and 2016, multiple incidents involving breastfeeding on planes made headlines, including one where a flight attendant told a woman she needed to cover up because passengers said it was disgusting. In early 2017, a pilot was caught going on a rant about her divorce and Hillary Clinton over the PA system. But none of these controversies compare to the horrifying incident that was filmed for everyone to see later that year. Today I'm going to review United's largest PR nightmare to date, known as the 2017 passenger removal incident. The 4 airline staff that were given a new flight worked for Republic Airways, a large regional airline in the Midwest that was contracted by United Airlines. When United staff for the outgoing flight realized that there was no more room on the plane, a supervisor took matters into her own hands. According to passengers, she boarded the plane and quickly escalated the situation with her tone and choice of words. She announced that there were staff members who needed to fly home, and the plane wasn't going anywhere until 4 people gave up their seats. They'd be given a hotel room and put on a later flight, but it wouldn't board for another 21 hours. None of the 70 passengers obliged. After suffering through the hassle of airport security and boarding, it doesn't surprise me that $400 in travel vouchers to unboard and go through the whole process again the very next day was just not worth it. Eventually, the offer was up to $800, but whether due to the supervisor's attitude or stubborn passengers, they weren't budging. To solve the dilemma, the gate agent chose 4 people at random to be involuntarily removed from the flight to make room for the Republic employees. A United spokesperson later admitted that this process is not actually random and is based on several factors, noting that higher-paying customers are less likely to be chosen. In any event, one of the chosen passengers was 69-year-old David Dao, an Asian-American doctor from Kentucky. While the other 3 passengers exited the plane, Dr. Dao refused, citing that he paid for a ticket and he had patients to tend to in Kentucky the next day. According to passengers, the supervisor made no attempt to de-escalate the situation and told Dr. Dao that the police were going to have him removed. Eventually, 2 officers from the Chicago Department of Aviation Police boarded the plane and attempted to convince the doctor to give up his seat, to no avail. According to passengers, even though he was visibly frustrated, Dr. Dao remained calm and respectful. A 3rd officer was called to the scene over radio. When he arrived, with little patience, he forcefully removed Dr. Dao to the dismay of passengers, many of whom were recording the incident. As the senior citizen was aggressively pulled from his seat, his head was smashed into an armrest and he lost consciousness. He was dragged down the aisle of the plane as witnesses condemned the actions of the security officers. But the story doesn't end here. Dr. Dao managed to get back on the plane, bloodied and looking disoriented. He repeatedly said that he had to get home and didn't want to get hurt again. When the officers came to remove him a second time and cornered him near the bathroom, that's when passengers began leaving the plane. The first to leave, a teacher who was traveling with his high school students, later shared in an interview that he completely understood why Dr. Dao did not want to give up his seat, and said that he wouldn't have exited the plane in that situation either. A teacher wouldn't want to leave behind his students, just like a doctor doesn't want to leave his patients behind. Staff eventually cleared everyone off the plane, and Dr. Dao was taken to the hospital with injuries, including a broken nose and significant concussion. He wasn't charged with any crimes. The plane didn't take off for another 3 hours, and during that time, passengers were quick to post videos of the incident online to Twitter and Facebook. United was now facing a PR catastrophe.
They didn't even admit they did anything wrong. In fact, if anything, they seem to be doubling down on this.
We're United Airlines. You do what we say, when we say, and there won't be a problem. Capiche?
One of the things that was I think there were a lot of issues here, but the biggest problem was the way that United handled it. They had a computer pick a random person and just took them off the plane. That seems like a bad policy. Here's a better policy. Don't overbook your flight.
Just buy your ticket with our app and get dragged to your destination.
Welcome to United Ground Lines. You'll be traveling today at an altitude of 0 feet. Expected arrival time in Chicago, 28 days.
The story was covered around the world. The public shared their distaste on social networks, while the media attempted to piece the story together. Late-night shows like SNL and Jimmy Kimmel addressed the topic. President Donald Trump also reacted, criticizing United's response and stating that they should have offered him more money. Other airlines even took advantage of the viral removal as a marketing opportunity. One passenger recounted Dr. Dao during the incident, claiming that he was targeted for removal because he was Asian. Chinese news stations picked this up, and as a result, the video was among the most viewed in China, reaching hundreds of millions of views on Chinese social networks Weibo and WeChat, and labeled as a possible hate crime. Many Chinese people cannot believe the disrespect of a senior citizen and doctor in America, while these groups are highly respected in Asian cultures. United, who used the motto "Fly the Friendly Skies" starting in 1965, had to respond to all the backlash, but their statements regarding the altercation would only serve to increase outrage. Later the same day that the passenger removal occurred, United issued the following statement that apologized for the overbook situation, but did not apologize for the violent altercation caught on video. The next day, Oscar Muniz, CEO of United Airlines since 2015, doubled down on United's initial statement by apologizing for re-accommodating customers while praising United staff for their actions in a leaked email that described Dr. Dao as disruptive and belligerent. United's refusal to apologize or even properly address the horrific scene that millions had viewed led to further backlash and an online petition for Oscar Muniz to resign as CEO. Many customers shared that they would be boycotting United. The following day, on April 11th, United backtracked from their initial statement and clarified that the flight was not overbooked, but instead the passengers were deplaned to make room for airline staff. It was now clear that even if your plane is not overbooked, you can still be removed from a United flight to make room for passengers who are considered more important. Muniz changed his tone and admitted that the incident was truly horrific, stating that no one should ever be mistreated this way. But it was too late. Dr. Dao remained at the hospital for days with injuries that required reconstructive surgery. His lawyer shared that Dr. Dao had related the incident to his experiences during the Vietnam War. At the same time, he dealt with the positives and negatives of gaining widespread attention. While he received an outpouring of support, a spotlight was also put on his personal life.
How did you handle all of that attention?
Get the point, I have to hide him.
Could you go to work? Could you leave the house?
No. I stay for months in the house.
United, on the other hand, quickly shifted to damage control mode as they faced politicians who demanded answers and a likely lawsuit from Dr. Dao. The company promised to conduct a thorough report of the incident and announced that officers would no longer be called to remove passengers in the event of a similar situation. At the same time, United Airlines' bargaining unit for the largest pilot union in the world attempted to shift blame to Republic Airlines and the Chicago Department of Aviation, stating that the incident was a result of gross excessive force by Chicago Department of Aviation personnel. So, who was actually in the wrong? Did United have the authority to request Dr. Dao's removal from his seat? And did the officers that arrived have the authority to fulfill this request? The first part of the answer is in the contract of carriage in United Airlines terms and conditions. A contract of carriage is an agreement that a passenger or owner of goods has with the carrier. United, in accordance with regulations, has rules about compensation in the event that a passenger is denied boarding. However, in their rules for refusal of transport, it is not written that a passenger who has already boarded can be removed from the plane as a result of either overbooking or priority fare for staff. As Dr. Dao's lawyer confirmed that his client would file a suit against United, focus was placed on 3 Chicago Department of Aviation officers that removed Dr. Dao from the flight. An investigation into the excessive use of force was initiated, and the department was in the spotlight. 2 months later, before the investigation was complete, the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board decertified the entire aviation police department that consisted of 300 officers. It turns out that the department had been improperly labeled as police, and they've been wearing uniforms that say police on them despite instruction to stop earlier that year. They were renamed to aviation security officers, a downgrade that the department's union tried to fight. However, in July 2017, the department finally admitted that their security personnel were not actually police officers. They didn't undergo police training, swear an oath, or carry a gun, but had carried the name of aviation police since their inception. In reality, they didn't even have the authority to board the plane, let alone enforce airline rules. 6 months after the incident in October 2017, the investigation was finally complete, and the 3 aviation officers involved and their supervisor were found to have violated City of Chicago personnel rules. 2 of the officers were discharged from the department, while the other 2 were suspended for just 5 days. Dr. Dao's lawsuit was confidentially settled before it even began, with rumors circulating that the monetary compensation for the incident was in the millions. We do know, however, that an important stipulation for the contract prevented any additional lawsuit against the City of Chicago, protecting the Department of Aviation from liability. In response to the incident, United made some good changes like increasing the compensation customers received for giving up their seats to $10,000. But for the most part, they got off lucky. They somehow escaped a fine from the Department of Transportation, even though the department did find that United was not in compliance with rules on overbooking. United's stock price was largely unaffected. It took a small hit after the company's initial public statements, but it went on to reach record highs in the coming months. Their CEO, however, faced a board of directors who were very unhappy with how he handled the situation. 5 days after the event, United announced that they had canceled Oscar Muniz's planned promotion by removing terms of his employment contract that set him up to become chairman of the board of directors. Despite this, Oscar Muniz stayed with United and did eventually assume the role of chairman in 2020. How could United remain largely unaffected after the scarring video was seen around the world and an enormous storm of negative press followed? Is United Airlines too big to fail? Well, an argument can definitely be made. Today, 4 airlines, American, Delta, United, and Southwest, have grown to control 80% of domestic passenger traffic in the U.S. through mergers, government assistance, and high startup costs for new airlines. United's presence in Chicago especially cannot be overstated. They operate over 500 flights a day and carry almost half of all passengers flying out of O'Hare. Their scale allows United to keep flight costs low, ticket price being one of the most important considerations passengers take into account when booking a flight. With a priority of increasing profits each quarter to please shareholders, gone are the days where airlines specialize in any certain category like luxury or international travel. United continues to expand their fleet, increase travel destinations, and diversify the services they offer in an attempt to appeal to every type of customer. It's safe to say that any one incident has a very low likelihood of having long-lasting effects on any of the mega airlines.